All right, good afternoon, good evening. It's 5:42 p.m. on Tuesday, January 2026. This is the Board of Directors meeting for the Albany County Land Bank Corporation. I'll start with the call to order. We have four members present: Charles Toohey, Joe Seaman Graves, Dave Rowley, and Michelle Dorsey. Is it Michelle Lynn Dorsey or Michelle Dorsey?
Michelle Dorsey.
Okay, Michelle
There's
Dorsey.
two Michelle Dorsey.
Okay, thank you. And welcome. Michelle's our newest member to the land bank that the board reviewed and offered a recommendation to the county legislature, and we're grateful to the county legislature for bringing you on board. So glad to have you here.
Do we have any public comment?
No public comments received. Tab 2, there's nothing there, and nobody's present from the public for comments tonight.
Okay. Go by the tabs. Yeah, okay. Big public too. It's pretty organized here.
Yeah.
Tab 3 is the minutes for December.
We can't really vote on them right now.
No, if anybody has anything that they saw they'd like to have corrected or noted, we'll do that, and then we can come back to vote on those
We'll come back to
later.
that when we get to one more person.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing would be the executive director's report.
That's right.
Tab 4. Okay.
Tab 4, it's going to be blank. I'm going to give you a verbal this month. End of the year stuff's a little busier than trying to fit in some time off. Lynette and I have been going and looked at our accruals and realized we should probably take a day off here or there. We're paying the price because we're just busy, and it's a good thing. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to give you a verbal update this month. Our current stats are up here on the screen for those viewing this live stream at home. We currently have 188 properties in our inventory. Last month, we started reporting to the average days owned of property inventory. And so we've owned on the average our properties 2,423 days. So we're sitting on some pretty long-term properties. But if you'll remember, last month we closed on the South End project. So that number, the total owned properties, was reduced significantly. On the screen here, you'll see that we have 67 properties available for sale, entirely lots right now. We have 57 properties identified into one of our projects. That includes our Flip the Block project that I'll update you on, as well as other projects we have tagged for grant funding opportunities that we've submitted a proposal for. We have 33 properties are sale pending. Those are properties approved by the board. They're under contract, and we're just waiting to get to closing. That number looks pretty big because we have a large cluster of properties in the city of Albany off of Crumpkill Road. I think that's going to contribute to that. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it was a large cluster there.
They're not buildable, right? The Crumpkill Road?
Yeah, we don't. I think they're requiring those to have a little bit more space or an adjoining owner.
Yeah.
And so that's why that's their desire to own those. 11 properties are in one of our co-development projects. So those right now are going to be the Ontario Street Beverwick project with Regan Development, and then with home leasing, Clinton Avenue Phase 3 at Henry Johnson Boulevard. And so there's 11 there. 7 applications have been moving through to the board in one phase of the other. Those are applications received and that we're still working on. I will note I'm close on these numbers. I may be a little off because we're also in the transition period. We stepped out of that e-property system, and we're now working with with the developer on the Monday.com work management. And so we're tracking this manually. We have a little reconciliation to do. So I just want to make that small caveat. So we have 7 properties that are under option agreements. And then we have 6 properties that we have known title problems that are preventing us from being able to sell those. And so we've been trying to whittle those numbers down. Any questions on our current stats?
I like it, but is the title problem properties a new indicator you're showing, or
No.
we looked at last month?
We've had that. I think, and as we've been moving off of that e-property system and into this, we've been looking at everything, top to bottom and how we track and report things. One of the things that in our old system and historically we had all these different tags, and so we were just adding more consistency, and we've moved to having fewer buckets and describing what's in those buckets rather than having buckets a bucket to describe everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about in the world of guerrilla marketing? Why can't you just say buyer beware?
Um,
Say take it. And they sign, I'm just thinking of a way to offload the title problem on.
Try to get quick claim.
There's always some speculators out there that might say,
Yeah.
okay,
We haven't had a lot of success with. I don't want to put Lynette on the spot, but you're familiar with some of the title problems. I think if there's financing involved, it's dead on arrival. And if somebody knows it's a title problem, they're running a risk that they could lose the property by buying it.
And there's a possibility that the county would vacate it anyway, ultimately, so
mhm.
they're not ones that we can.
I'm just thinking outside the box, but you know the case study of all of them.
Yeah, typically, and I think we'll as we triage what's happening around here, we'll come back around to our title problems again to see where we might want to discharge those. I think discharge them back to the county, ask the county to vacate the foreclosure, because typically the title problem happens is that when the county went through foreclosure, whoever did the title search might have missed something. And then when we went through and did a title search, or a buyer went through and did a title search, they found that problem. So it happens periodically, but out of the number of properties we have, that's not terrible. And it's something that we inherit. So we try to fix it up. There are ones that we could try to get a quick claim on it and move it ahead, but yeah.
No rush. Can you just follow up with which properties are? Because off the top of my head, I know like the property over Bogies is probably the one we've talked about a lot. I think it's in that list.
I don't think that's a title one. We know that one was sold, so that's not actually in our inventory. That was.
We actually sell that?
We sold that.
I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
Yeah, that property we had sold, and the reason that we had discussed it is because when it comes to our development enforcement mortgage, we use a development enforcement mortgage to keep applicants true to their commitment to the land bank, and in that case, they're not complying with the development enforcement mortgage. We could come through and foreclose on it, but we know the issue that exists where part of the second floor unit is on the property we sold, but it's actually not accessible through the property. It's somebody at one point where they're probably all in common ownership extended an addition on the second floor for an apartment over another lot. It's a weird thing, but it creates a
Is
bit
that
of
the
a
Ontario Street one?
yeah.
Bogey.
Yeah, I still call it Bogies. Yeah.
Showing your age, my friend.
That's
So, you wanted a list of those title problems?
Just
Okay.
interested in which ones we have that are.
Yeah, and we can get that over to you. Again, we're still working through this, but this is our KPI dashboards, and we sent the link out before to you all. Again, we're still showing through November because we're reconciling out with the change in systems here. So I'll let you know when that gets updated, but we'll have a full update next month. We should have a lot of progress on our update to our system. Just to let you know what we're working on right now, end of the year. So we started the data collection for the annual audit. We get access to a portal with our auditors at Bonadio. We're starting to feed documents into them. So January is a busy document collection and upload month. And then we've started talking about the annual report for 2024, 2025. We printed those last year. I'm going to suggest that we don't print them this year. We'll design them so that we could print them on demand at Staples, but I have probably recycled more boxes of annual reports than I care to. And we asked that when we sent this out last year, when we had a staff meeting, I asked anybody here from anybody saying, hey, I saw the annual report and just had a couple of questions or some feedback, and we didn't get anything. So we'll still send it out. We'll send it out as an interactive PDF
to all the elected officials.
To all of our elected officials.
County legislature.
Yeah, and we'll send a letter out with a QR code, and we'll still get physical mail out to people to let them know that the annual report is available. But I think that printing it is probably getting to be a task of the past. I'm on the Discover Albany board, and this year the same thing as the Discover Albany team opted not to print it, and we didn't miss it because we could read it online. We could get a digital copy. Yeah.
We're a public authority and a not-for-profit, so we have at least two reporting sets of.
Oh, we have a lot of reporting. Yeah. We report. I mean, we do our own internal annual reports. We do our audited reports, and then we do for the authority's budget office. We do our annual reports, and with the training, you'll see all of those different things that we have to accomplish. That's why our annual meeting happens in March, because we have an April 1 reporting deadline. And so that's the point in time where we get everything wrapped up and approved and moved along. Other activities going on. I said the staff's tremendously busy, just to acknowledge what everybody's doing. Jason's taken the lead on getting the land bank to submit its.
Why don't you tell them who?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me go around. Everybody, why don't you introduce yourselves, everybody? I'm sorry. I gotta get going. But it's just Jason.
Jason Jacoin, I'm the development specialist.
I'm Lillian Fudge, the operations coordinator here.
And I'm Lynette Terrence, I'm the director of operations.
But I'm Shelby, the administrative coordinator.
You don't see Susan Baker here, who's our enforcement and compliance coordinator, and Nancy Muse, who is our administrative assistant part-time. So that's everybody, right? I didn't forget somebody. Okay, good. I only have to remember seven of us and myself. But Jason's been working on a brownfield application to the EPA for community assessment grant. We haven't done something like that before. We feel it's appropriate because the property that we come across, especially even some of the vacant properties, we don't know what we're getting ourselves into, and there's enough. There's probably enough out there to suspect there could be a potential for contamination, which that in itself is a qualification for being a brownfield. It doesn't have to actually be contamination, just enough of a suspicion that it impacts property value or the ability to reuse the property. So Jason has been handling that. We wrapped up the South End project. I said that had closed. We're doing the transition to the Monday.com. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to riff through all the different things that we're involved with. Lillian, what do you have that's been rolling around?
Different enforcement and compliance activities, like monitoring the long-term enforcement, like sending out certified letters to make sure that the grant requirements are being met for different properties associated with grants, like Neighbors for Neighborhoods, and making sure that the property owners are compliant with all of those requirements, as well as just our regular compliance activities, making sure that people are getting their timelines are aligning with what they are anticipating, and making sure that projects are being monitored so that they're on good track.
And because of Lillian's diligence on the enforcement piece, and she works closely with Susan, we had a really productive meeting with our legal team from Whiteman 2 weeks ago now, maybe, just to talk about our different tools in the enforcement process. To give you just some perspective, we have one property that we'd asked to get into C, which is our right under our development enforcement mortgage, except nobody showed up. And so it raised a question in our office. It's like, could we, make entry and then resecure the building? And that's why we call our attorneys, and they advise us against that, because that just opens up some potential liability. But it, did help us understand like what path we need to bring those issues along. So thanks, Lillian. And Shelby is everything that you see on social media, on our website, our communications, a lot of our external stuff with the community is Shelby's work. We have a term for what Shelby does around here, and it's Shelbifying. So Shelby's been Shelbifying a lot of things. She's really has added some messaging discipline or messaging consistency to our materials. Everything has a consistent look and feel. And so we've been working on anything that you want to note there?
I think it's a bit of all over the place, but more like internal, in-house and office kind of things that we want to be more organized on that we've been working on in terms of like our filings. And then of course we're trying to go into like Monday. We also want to try like a new board portal. There's a couple of organizational systems, hopefully, to make everything more fluent when it comes to our internal communication.
And that's a great one. If we could just hang on that one for a second, because we talked about it at the executive committee this month, is that one of the, getting everything ready for the board, we think could be improved in terms of how the information flows to you and your access to information. And so Shelby has done some research, identify some solutions out there, and we're going to test one out in the next, for about 30 days, called Ideals. The goal with our goal with that is just a better experience for board members and a better experience for staff getting things ready for board members. That includes tracking who's coming to the meeting and who can't make it to the meeting. That includes not having to worry about, am I looking at the latest email? If we had to update something along the way, the materials in the portal will be the updated materials. And then, reflecting back, and I'm thinking maybe Joe will appreciate this a little bit, because you do ask some good questions about like things in the past, but you'll be able to go back and take a look at what we have done without having to say, can I get that list from you? Because if I provided it to you in the past during a meeting as a meeting material, it will still live there.
I thought you liked me reaching out to you.
Oh, I do like hearing from you. It gets lonely in there some days. No. But
enforcement is a great area for us, because that was the point of, we say to someone, how long do you think it's going to take for you to do this building? And they tell us, and then we sort of put it through our thing. Is that reasonable? What are your resources? And then it's about good faith, and enforcement we're not like boom like that, but you need to show us. If you want an extension, we'll give you an extension, as long as you show that you're working. And so we sort of have a humanity about it, but we still have to have the hammer, like a reverter clause, right? That kind of thing. So.
I have 3 questions on everything you just said. Since Natisha's not here, I figured it's a good time to.
sure.
Anybody want to text Natisha to find out what she is?
Okay, quick questions. Well, how long until you anticipate being fully over for Monday.com or to Monday.com?
The developer, we're catching up with them. Their schedule is in 2 weeks,
On February 3rd.
February 3rd.
Hey,
That's where we'll start moving a lot
magical
of this.
number 5.
I know, all the time.
We don't have, the good thing is that on the export, as we were testing this internally for proof of, I don't want to say full proof of concept, to make sure that, we were moving in the right direction. We had set up some things on our own to be able to work with it. It's just being able to make sure that we're doing it the correct way, because what we found with the property, the team had used these tags for properties to track what was going on, and then we had tons of fields. It just got to be too much. It was not in the right place, and then trying to undo that and return it was a process. So we're starting a little bit more of a cleaner spot. So I think, end of February, I think we'll be in a much better shape. Nothing is impacting operations, which is a good thing. It might just take us, might have to make a note and come back to it later, just for the progress on something.
Can I put the board or staff on?
Yeah.
Spotlight for a second. Enforcement mortgages, how many are we tracking that are going out of our 5-year window this year?
That's a good question. I know that we have a list of properties by year, and so we approach how we approach the enforcement is sometimes contingent on that window. But I can definitely give you the numbers on which ones are outside of our reverter plus window, if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah, I know we just caught up with some of the older ones we were doing some house cleaning with, so I'm interested in what the next set is.
Yeah, there's still some older ones that we're cleaning up right now, but I'm happy to give you a breakdown of what we're working on.
Yeah.
And those are some of the ones, Joe, that we've actually reached out to our council about, because as Sean mentioned, sometimes it's challenging to enforce it, because if we schedule a meeting, so I usually do the inspection. So if I schedule an inspection, they don't show up, then it's like, okay, what's our recourse? So that's part of what we want to talk to council about, and also have them evaluate our enforcement policy, reverter policy, to make sure that it's still strong enough so that we can do that. But we do have a list that we can share with you.
Yeah.
Once, today.
Cool. Yeah. And I got one for Jason. Area-wide or site-specific brownfield assessment grants?
Yeah, we're talking, we're looking at area, community-wide assessment right now, and then, with that, you have to choose target areas, so just based on where most of our lots are, I think it makes the most sense for those to be the, West Hill Census Tract and the South End Census Tract. So then from there, it's picking priority sites within those census tracts. So what our thought was so far is to prioritize lots that are mixed use zoned, because that gives more flexibility in terms of if we're getting community input on the potentially future use of the property. So if it's zoned, I was looking at some lots where it's like a lot in between two existing buildings, and it's zoned single family. So there's like only one option it could really be in the future. So that was the thought process, and it'll be good because we have. I submitted a summary to the New Jersey Institute of Technology, or for our region, are like the reviewers, and they kind of give feedback on brownfield applications. So we submitted that to them. And we're going to set up a meeting to get some more additional feedback as we think through the process. And then the application is due the 28th, so it's going to be a lot in a short window, but
Cool.
That's the thought process so far.
That's one that I failed at 3 years in a row, so if you need any tips of what not to do,
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a good learning process for me because this is my first time applying, learning about the grant. And obviously new for the land bank. So I think it's a good learning process at bare minimum, to get feedback from people that do more brownfield work full time. Yeah.
So feel free to reach out, but yeah, good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have a time restrict? Are you tight on time? No. Okay. All right. All right.
I have 15 other questions.
No. All right. So let me jump over to just an update on the different development clusters. Like I said, South End, we closed on those on the rental portion, and now we're moving into, as that moves forward, and hopefully we have a groundbreaking when you put a shovel in the ground this spring. But then we'll move into the home ownership phase 2, and how we're going to advance that. It's probably going to be, the developer like an amendment to the agreement, but we're working through how that may potentially look, because I made it crystal clear that this land bank is committed to home ownership in the South End. These are not two separate and distinct things, that this project includes that commitment. And so we'll get there, but we got to put a little pressure on things. No updates on the Ontario and West Street properties. That's 3 properties that the land bank owns, 76 units of affordable housing. It's in for a 9% low-income housing tax credit application, which, as I've said before, is a competitive application with New York State. That was submitted back in September, and so we're waiting to hear about the outcomes there. So until we know if they got that award or not, that project is just hanging out. You might ask, if they don't get that award, what happens? They apply again. So.
Sean, who's gonna manage this property?
This is Regan.
Oh, okay.
Yep, Regan, who's
The guys that did the Equinox building on Central.
Okay.
Swinburne. And then Henry Johnson Boulevard, Clinton Avenues cluster. We have 8 properties there to create 5 2-unit townhouses, 38 affordable apartments, 4 3-unit townhouses. All the municipal approvals are in place. But as we've said before, is that the developer is evaluating their current capacity to complete the project, and they'd like to try to find a partner to work with them to get this project across the finish line. So we've asked for an update, and I just don't have one for you today. I know that they were in a due diligence phase with a potential partner or another developer who may be able to take on the project and do this. But we're waiting for an update from Home Leasing on that.
Any update on the environmental easement issue there?
No, I mean, there's gonna have to be some cleanup. There's gonna be some costs involved there, and then they're gonna have to be put into the development cost of the project. So whoever ends up being the developer or the development partner on that is going to have to, put those numbers together and let us know where they are. I think it's reasonable that, we might need to step in with some of the resources that we have, especially from the sale in the south end, to help that project move along. And I think that's what we probably could expect, but we'll see what that looks like. Our goal is not to. We would come in with that to be a development partner and get those development costs in, and then have those come back out during the financing of that project. But there's going to be some front-loaded work that has to get done, and I think it's probably enough that it's if somebody's not there who's willing to step up, like I think that we could, it could slow progress down. So we've got to show up. The Flip the Block project, I've had good progress along the way, working with architects to identify who's well suited to handle this. Some of the good insight of those meetings is that we really do need to get out there and get a site plan established with an engineer and with a surveyor to see what exactly we're dealing with. That way, the site plan is important because that will then inform the architect what the envelope is they need to design within. So we're moving down that.
The unit count isn't on there. It would be nice to have it on there. I'm thinking to tell everybody it's 27 buildings. No, 10 plus 7, 17 buildings.
17 buildings.
Yes, so on that, where are the 10 and where are the 7?
The 10 two families are the oranges,
Okay,
and then the single families are the blue.
okay.
Except remember that on Second Street, that blue, that top solid blue
Mhm.
was a rehab. So we're not building new there. That was
Okay,
the one
but it's
exception in the
still- It's
neighborhood.
still an owner-occupied unit,
Exactly.
and that one we finished and we sold it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's finished and sold. The other one, some of the other blues, like we have some demolitions to do. So team is working on advancing more of the demolition work. And then it's a unique dance we have to do with our funding partners at the state, because we have to not bring the project so far along that it gets to a point where they need to review something, or or if we have a funding application in, we have to sort of stop work on it so that they can then tell us. Joe's nodding his head. It sounds like
It's good counterproductive half the time.
yeah. It's a little frustrating. So that's what we're trying to understand better with HCR, is like, how far are you going to be able to allow us to go with this? For example, on the demolitions, when we talked about the block by block program, they wanted us to stop. They didn't want us to do any demos. And I stressed to them, and I made them aware that regardless if you give us the block by block money, these buildings need to come down. They're not
a blight on the neighborhood.
yeah, it's not a positive.
state is
It's
holding
not good for the
Creating
neighborhood.
blight.
Right. So we're going to use another pot of money to do that. We'll handle the environmental review there. And so going that route, we're going to present this project for that other set of funding as these are vacant lots. So, but it's all about trying to, just thread that needle. So,
Did that work?
yeah.
For that approach?
yeah, it seems to be working, right?
Yeah.
Two families, and Charlie and I had early semantic discussions about two families.
The other developers, you assemble the lots and they build affordable housing, it's all rental, boom, they do it. These are individual homeowners, so that each one is a mortgage, and get into that. And it's hard, and developers don't want to do this. But we need to do it because homeownership is what we're about and what the neighborhood needs. So we're willing to take on this patient piecemeal approach because we can and because we should.
This is part of the community value approach to this, is that we have assets, we can improve them on our own as a public sector or a quasi-public type developer, and that we're different than, say, a housing authority who's building affordable housing for rent. Our goal is to build these to sell to first-time home buyers at an affordable
We
level
belong
by
to this national
stacking.
network of land banks, And there isn't a single land bank in the country that does 100% home ownership project. Everybody's been creative, creative ideas, but not actually putting the house in the hands of someone that was, So I think this is a feather in our cap if we get it to the finish line to say we are the only land bank, the capital city of New York State, 100% home ownership.
And that's really how you can do affordable housing, right? Do home ownership, because in my opinion, you really can't do it with apartments because you're gonna always cut some sector of the population out by income levels, right? But when you do affordable home ownership, it's different because it's actually affordable for the population.
And we give, residents a chance to build equity.
Right.
You don't build in an apartment.
Right.
That's right.
So
So do we want to declare a quorum and get going here?
yeah, I think you have a quorum now. I
Okay.
marked it at 6 p.m. Do you want
Let's
to?
go
So
back
we
to the
can.
minutes.
Yep.
Say everybody has the minutes on page, tab 3 there. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes? Second?
Second.
Any addition, corrections, or changes to the minutes of December 16th? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Minutes accepted.
All right. For your informational purposes, tabs 5, 6, and 7 are the committee reports. 5 and 6, executive and real estate, they met.
Okay.
Audit committee did not meet. Only Sam was available, so we
So
just
that's
did
not a
that.
regular thing anyway, right? Audit, we meet once a year, twice a year.
Right. Audit, governance, and finance
Yeah,
show about
okay,
twice a
yeah.
year. So
Yeah.
audit was, but the purpose of that was just for an update to the committee and to see if the committee, communicate to the committee if there were any concerns that they had. They could either let us know about that, or they could let the auditors know directly. So
Okay.
we want to make sure we have a clean and open audit.
Do you wanted to say anything about executive real estate or audit?
No, I think everything else is going to fall into new
Okay.
business here.
Okay.
I'll
So
start
we
with
have the
Tam.
minutes there, right? Okay, then we don't need to accept those.
No, just for.
Okay, so we saw the committee reports that were in there. If you have any questions, now new business is item 6 on the agenda, is considering resolution number 1, authorizing the sale of real property, which is tab 8. What do we got here? Tab 8. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay, presentation. All right, okay, Schedule A on the back there.
Mhm.
And then the pages through just the back.
And I'll bring them up here on the screen, so I have a little bit of a visual in the room here. I'm sorry, that's the enforcement and compliance summary. Here we are. Acquisitions and dispositions. Just dispositions tonight.
64 Third Street is not on here.
Nope, I'm sorry.
Woods Road and 79 Elizabeth Street.
There we are. Swift Road in Voorheesville is the property that we've had in inventory for a period of time. We got an offer for this for $8,000. There's been outreach in the past, and nobody's really bitten at this. We took a look at this. The discussion at the committee level was about the buyer's capacity, but given that it's vacant land in Voorheesville, this would we view this a little bit differently than if this were a vacant structure in one of our neighborhoods.
How big a
lot is that?
Anybody remember? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Are the adjoiners buying it or is it somebody else?
Somebody else.
Okay.
It's 325 by 209.
325, 209, with the you divide.
And that's like by the top of the triangle and down.
What are they gonna develop on it? Did they say?
She has a relative who lives nearby, her daughter,
Mhm.
so that's why she wants to purchase this lot.
She's gonna put a house here.
Yeah, she's gonna
Eventually.
build a house for herself.
Yeah.
It's close to family.
I mean, I wasn't a fan just based on where she lived and her capacity, but I think staff convinced me in the real estate meeting that, if nothing happens with the lot, it remains just a vacant lot and just to give them a chance. And I tend to agree with that. I think, Sean, what you're getting at is if this is a building that might be demoed, it's a different story, but so I'm in favor, just given location and there's no existing structures on it. And then we have made outreach to the adjacent neighbors in the past and they haven't wanted the property, so.
Okay.
So that's that. And then 79 Elizabeth Street. our rehab here in the south end. We did get 2 applicants for that, 2 qualified applicants. So we will need to do a random selection. We used to do this on the screen tonight. Joe and the committee meeting volunteered to help us make the selection.
Well, volunteered is one way to put that.
He said something, I interpreted it as being the way
Looks
to
like
do
Luna's
it.
Casino to me.
But this is,
There it is.
so we have a,
You didn't give me the sizes. I've been working out all week. I think this is a big wheel to pull out.
Joe's picturing the Price is Right. Or something. I don't blame him. That's what I would have liked to do. But on the wheel here, Shelby prepared this. We have alternating the 2 different applicants, 2170 and 2174. Any questions about the applicants before we give this?
So the people watching, don't confuse the colors by, there's not 10 applicants, there's only 2.
There's only 2.
There's only 2, each
and
of
they
them have
alternate.
5 chances on.
Right, they
this
alternate.
wheel.
They
Yeah,
alternate.
your odds are better.
Yeah.
I like it.
Type back here.
All right. Any questions? Otherwise, Joe's going to give us a good, solid spin, and then we'll see who our selected.
I don't have a question on applicants. I have a question on our process. Are we gonna do any PR stuff once the applicant purchases the house, or have we passed that point since we've already done the rehab?
No. So if you, I think there's going to be an opportunity to tell more of the story. And I don't want to give too much of that away because we've been approached by somebody to tell the story. And I want somebody to get the scoop. So,
Okay.
I'll leave it there. I don't want to say too
I'll
much.
wait.
Point is, You're already thinking about it.
Right, we're already thinking about it. And in fact, before we close on this, we're going to do we're going to do a walkthrough video involving the team to show off what we're talking about,
Okay.
more about taking properties like this and giving them back to the community somehow.
Mhm. Okay.
So, all right, want to give it a whirl, Joe?
Hope this isn't battery operated, right?
Give it a big spin. $21.
2174.
Okay.
So buyer 2174 is our first selected buyer. If 2174 is unable to close on this, it'll go to buyer 2170.
Okay.
So we will let both of them know to stay, in contact. But we want to keep this moving along, especially it's winter. We want to get somebody in here for the spring. So, all right.
Okay, so we have
Good
the
job.
resolution for the 2 properties. All those in favor of resolution 1, authorizing the sale, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Resolution passed. Consider resolution number 2, authorizing the release of the reverter interest at 68 Green Island Avenue in Latham, tab 9.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion, presentation.
This is a reverter that we had on the property. When the property was sold, the intent was to build on it. They built on it, and they're ready to sell the property.
We have a picture of the house,
This is the lot. We don't have a
Oh.
picture. We don't have a picture of the house.
but they did build the house.
They did build the house. Yep. I think that's the house under construction over on the side
Oh, I
there.
see. We're selling them the lot.
We sold them the lot and they
Yeah.
built on it, and
Yeah,
so
so
they're
what-
ready to sell.
Oh, the
So we-
reverter, I get
So
it.
we need to remove the reverter to
I
allow them to
understand
sell
that.
the lot.
Okay.
There were no restrictions on what they proposed. They just proposed to construct for sale.
Yeah.
And so they've met that obligation.
And this picture is at an angle from the property being built because we sold them a portion of what they were building on,
Yeah.
Correct.
right?
That's right.
So they merged 2 lots together for a building lot? Okay, that's right. Thank you for that.
Okay, so all those in favor of?
I have a question. How is this different from when we said we don't want someone to flip houses?
Because they weren't speculating. They told us from the get-go, this was the plan. Versus somebody saying, I don't know what I want to do with the property. I'm going to buy it. Maybe I'll build on it. I'm going to keep it for a garden, maybe use it for open space. And then I I think like the one we talked about on, in one of the upper wards of the city, where somebody has moved away, you know, and there was really never a plan for that. So, you know, they're gonna sell it and they potentially, you know, have a chance to realize something from the sale of the property. And that's when we go back and we talk to them and say, all right, you know, we recognize that you get something out of this and you have your carrying costs, but if there's some profit made over that, we, you know, encourage you to return some of that back to the land bank to allow us to continue our mission. We're generally successful with that.
There was, and I recall this one too, the builder had the lot, but current, if I'm recalling correct, current zoning didn't allow for them to build what they wanted to in their lots. They needed ours just to have the correct lot size.
There was an issue with an encroachment, they thought that they had a certain size lot, but turns out the adjacent owner owned a portion of that. So they
Okay.
needed to purchase ours in order to make it large enough to build.
And,
So
and
they told us that from the start.
okay, and this by itself would not be a buildable lot in
No.
Colony.
Yeah, and then they actually merged the two lots.
Yep.
So,
And the way this is probably a little different than the way we're handling it now because we know they're going to build on it. We require them to merge it. And if we require somebody to merge at the time of closing and they accomplish that, then we don't put an enforcement mortgage on it because it's hard to revert something that has been merged. So if they're willing, you know, when we recommend that, then we don't have this on there because we consider that to be the step that they needed to take to satisfy their obligation. All right.
Yeah, our quorum just left.
Yep. All right. Well, why don't we, if I could we'll set this one aside. Well, we really got to get through that. So, yeah. Give folks a second.
Sorry. I was getting fit my committees that I'm on.
Okay, so 68 Green Island Avenue, all those in favor of this release of the reverter, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Resolution passed. Resolution number 3, authorizing extension of the project completion deadline for 207 Myrtle Avenue. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Tab 10. Take a look.
All right, on the screen here, you'll see 207 Myrtle Avenue in the city of Albany. Applicants requesting an extension to the project completion deadline. Lynette, you've been out to see this. Do you want to weigh in on it?
Yeah, he's almost done. He just needs until March to complete it. And the extension was good through the end of January. So we literally just want the board's approval. for the
That's
extra
small
2
enough.
months.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Yeah, he's almost done.
Does it look like that now?
Like this? I don't know if he's done the
No, I pulled that from our inventory of
Yeah, that's
photos
a
of
before
that.
picture.
We don't have any.
All there is
alternate
a new
photos.
front door there. But there's
Yeah.
more, if you went out there today, it would look better than that.
Yes, I believe, yeah.
Yeah,
Because the
that's
last time I went in was, what was it, like 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
down
they
the
were
street,
working on the interior, so. he's
just
supposed
down the
to
street from the
finish
Price Chopper.
it, But they just need until March.
Yeah.
In the future, can we get up-to-date pictures also, like when you do your inspection, even if it's just what it is at the time you do your inspection, so we can see how far along they've come?
Yeah, yeah.
Pictures, but yes, we'll definitely.
Okay.
Before and after, it's always good. We're in the visual business too.
Yes.
Yeah, hundreds of pictures.
Okay, all those in favor of the extending the deadline on 207, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Resolution passed. Resolution number 4, authorizing extension of enforcement mortgage for 54 North Swan.
Second.
Okay. Backstory?
You want to?
Yeah, so this was one, the buyer had initially had issues, even beginning the project due to family issues, so he had we had vetted a new buyer, someone who was gonna buy it from him, but they actually backed out. So he would like some extra time, just so that he can actually work on the project himself. He said that now he has the time and the resources to do that. We are waiting for him just to provide us with, proof of funds, just to make sure that everything's squared away. But when I did do the inspection, it had been gutted down to the studs. So it really just needs, basic plumbing, heating. All of that.
And how long is the extension for?
We were thinking a year, that should be sufficient, or do
He
you think?
requested a year, but because the extension would go from when the time his enforcement mortgage expired,
Okay,
then we're requesting 18 months just to give him an actual full year to do the project.
because his extension expired as we were waiting for the new buyer
Yeah.
for that
Yeah,
process, so
yeah.
we do want to get the extra time.
Good example of what I was telling you about before. If there's a good faith effort, we'll bend. Right?
Yeah, so then we're looking for 18 months.
Okay, all those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, resolution passed. Old business.
I don't have any, but with Michelle being new and our annual meeting being in March, rather than go through the process of reforming committees, I'm gonna probably put you on the spot here, but the low bar, low threshold, is that with the exception of the executive committee, I might suggest that we appoint Michelle as an alternate to the committees, to the remaining committees. And the real estate committee meets every month with the executive committee virtually. And then the governance committee will meet again, and then the audit committees will meet again.
But those are one-off things.
They're one-off things. So maybe as an alternate to the real estate committee,
Yeah.
and
She's in
then
real estate. That'd be great.
well, yeah,
If you wanted.
okay. So then I would offer that as something that the
The
board. might want.
alternate meaning what? I mean,
She'll be an alternate member of the board, or the alternate member of the
so
committee.
she'll get the material.
She'll get the material,
Yeah,
she'll see it all, and then if we fall short of a quorum, Michelle will help us establish, can be a person to help us establish
Since
quorum.
real estate is our game.
Right.
It's the best one place to be.
But since we're throwing Michelle, I'm calling an audible right now
Yeah, okay.
to get Michelle into
Okay,
committees.
do we need a motion?
I think that would be best.
Okay. I'd make a motion that we put Michelle as an alternate on the real estate committee.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? We just discussed it.
Are we only doing real estate? Are there any other committees that we should be thinking about right now?
I think now that as I'm talking it out, I'm
Yeah.
saying, I don't think that governance and audit, you don't want to jump into those right away. I think real estate would be a good place to get started to see the meat of what we're
What we
working
do.
on. And then when we meet, the governance committee will meet this in February, I believe. And then we need to talk about the governance committee about committee structures moving forward to make sure that we spread the word around.
Regularly.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to hash it out, but I'd love to have you involved, but because we're throwing you right in as an alternate, it gives you, yeah.
Okay, anybody?
Will join if you don't have enough, or you want me to
Well,
be there no matter
I'd
what?
still love, I think it'd be great for you to be there, but if quorum is there, you don't have to feel compelled to vote on something that you may not feel like you're fully up to speed on.
Gotta go to court to prove it.
All right.
Okay, anything else?
I'm thinking, what about the underserved communities committee, since we only have 4 people on there?
I think that's the other thing I want to talk about at governance is, I want to recast that committee. We have the framework for, we are practicing all of the things for the underserved communities committee in terms of the policy. And so I think we keep going down that route, but what comes up more often than not is the community engagement. And I'd like to reform the underserved communities committee as a community engagement committee. A couple of reasons. One, we have heard from people that they don't identify as underserved community members. And so we want to respect that. And two, I think that what we recognize is a critical part of our work is if we're going to serve an underserved community, we have to reach into an underserved community. And so that just speaks to broadly, is our community outreach effective And are we doing all the things that we should be doing, or are we missing people? And I think that's where the board and that committee of the board can help us identify that. And the way that committee is set up too, if there are people from the community that the board feels should also be helping us inform that.
There are,
Yeah.
there's
That's what we
legislators and community members that's also part of that committee.
Good.
I've struggled to find the information about that.
Carolyn McLaughlin, Jamel Robinson.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people.
But I think that we just the way to move forward with that is just to, in March, reestablish that committee as a community engagement committee. And then we
We're
get all
talking
those
about
people.
March, so we have a definite date.
No, I'm saying that when we do our annual meeting in March,
Okay.
we reestablish,
Rename it, okay,
right.
then restaff it.
Right. Because that is one of those committees that if we don't, with the bylaw update, that is not a bylaw committee, it's a committee that's established. So those are the committees that if we want them to be in place, we continue them. We just continue them at the next annual meeting to make sure that those committees are moving along and progressing as we expect.
I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that we don't get away from, and I understand that folks don't want to be called underserved, but we don't get away from what the core reason for that establishing that committee was for. It was because the underserved communities felt disengaged and disassociated with the land bank, and we were focusing specifically on how to work within those communities.
Yeah. No, I think that's, I think we can capture all of that and then even more effectively communicate to people the land bank's commitment to keep everybody at the table and engaged, and not that we only serve certain groups, that we serve all groups, and we seek to serve all groups, equally and fairly. And part of that is recognizing that we have our own gaps in how we currently engage with the community, and that the goal of the community engagement committee is to close those gaps everywhere we see them.
Which one of our communities is focusing on our education campaign, right? Because I feel like that's a big part of the conversation that we're having with this community, is that a lot of people don't understand what the land bank does, what our application process is, who to contact for what, how to get a land bank property. So which one of our communities or which staff, what are we doing around an education campaign for that?
So Shelby, myself, Lynette, I think we regularly talk about engagement here. In fact, Lynette's got on the whiteboard sort of a mind map of community engagement.
Yeah, so that's definitely why we talked about converting that underserved communities committee to a community engagement committee. Because right now we're working on pretty much like a marketing calendar, so to speak, for the whole year, right? What are some of the events that we can hold so that we can go out into the community and educate them on what we do, how you go about, purchasing a land bank property, but also if, let's say you're not qualified, right? How can we help you become qualified, or maybe how can we steer you maybe to another resource? So partnering with other organizations, making sure that we reach out to community groups that we should be reaching out to that we might not even have any relationships with right now. We even talked about doing maybe some workshop series, right, where we go out to the libraries or other community spaces so that we can really talk about the land bank and even just go over home ownership. What does it mean to own a home? How can you leverage your home to build that generational wealth? We have a number of ideas, but that's where we could really use the board members to help us so that we can identify what room should we kind of wet ourselves into and who we should be talking to.
See, this is a good space for Virginia Rawlins, right? Because that's exactly what her organization does. She already has the audience. She already has the information that she's bringing to them. They already come to her for some of that stuff. I know that this is probably a conversation we will probably take offline. Are we still being recorded?
We are, yeah.
A conversation that we should probably take offline, but I don't know what other organizations already have the audience for what we're trying to do.
Exactly, so just help there. So now we know that's someone that we can reach out to,
Mm-hmm.
or some other people that we should be reaching out
Well,
to.
even at Alice Moore, with all these different things going on at Alice Moore, Black Arts, there's a homeownership group.
Yep.
They're starting to form one there.
Yep.
So I'm definitely gonna hook them into you guys,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly, so that kind of thing. So that's why we feel that just the board members could really help us move forward a lot more quickly than we can, ourselves. So that's why we really would appreciate the board's help in doing that and really connecting with people, because we want to be out there. We offer a lot of resources, even if we can't help you here. We take the time to talk to people, talk to potential applicants, and try to, point them in the right direction or be that resource. Again, even if we can't help them, we still want to help the community in any way that we can.
I think this team is puts a lot of pride into that. We never send somebody away without a next step. So somebody's always got an answer. And even the other piece I was going to add is like, being taking our community and trying to educate them and telling them what's going on. So even when we get a phone call from somebody about a question about a piece of property, so we had one of our properties where they had a maintenance question. And so we turned that into a blog post that we have queued up, ready to go, because as we tackle that, we realized, well, if that person had that question, I bet you somebody else in the community has a similar question, has never been down that. And it was, we did it on the holidays, but the holiday schedule, we'll relaunch it. But it was something like, can I flush it? That was the communication.
If it's the flush for wipes, the answer is no.
Exactly, but that was the whole point.
We're motion to adjourn.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. He was checking out the meeting to make sure I was here.
That's right.
I'm really in a meeting.